Like I said, today we will talk about our platform, but and we'll show you a live demonstration of the platform as well. So just to set the context of what we are doing in the supply chain space on the BI side. So this is so essentially what this slide is showing is what BI capabilities that we have rolled out for FEMSA across 9 countries. So everything from Mexico, Central America, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, and now Philippines, which is a bottling company they own in East in Asia. And so on the left axis, on the y-axis, what you see is the different type of BI capabilities that we have enabled. So starting with operational tools that the planners need to actually make the decisions about what fleet, what is going to be the deployment of the product today, tomorrow, going up to more of the classical analytics, which is descriptive, which is measuring the process compliance, measuring your history, measuring performance to plan, which is measuring the execution versus planning. And then going into more of the predictive analytics, which is actually looking at future or suggesting what might be the problems that might happen in future, or forecast accuracy measurements, etc. And the fourth piece, which we are in the journey that we have started, using the predictive results, is to now apply the recommendation engine on top of it, so that many of the issues that are identified at the operational level, like trucks are getting late because of traffic condition, or the truck is going to break down, then what are the actions that the operations team can take to rectify the problem before it actually impacts the business metric. On the x-axis, you see more of the functional capabilities of the platform. So starting with, it is one platform so therefore it's one version of truth. So when the inventory picture, for example, is shared across the management team, everyone knows that this is my inventory level, this is my sales, this is my shipment. So it is not we are not trying to replicate a corporate data warehouse. So it does not have HR data, it does not have financial, I mean there is some financial data, but does not have the it's not everything. It is very focused on supply chain, but this is all analytics and BI of supply chain is in this one platform. The second piece, which was very important, is many times you may have good tools, but if the data that is coming into BI has issues, then then there are questions about the reports and the analysis. So one of our strengths is data quality is built into the platform, which means we ensure that, or the platform helps ensure the customer that the quality of data that they are feeding into their BI, into their planning applications is always of the highest quality. If there's a sourcing issue, if there is a unit cost that is not correctly mapped, then they have the process to go and fix that data. The third piece is, again, when we're running one platform that runs across 9 countries, 300 users, from management to operations that are using the tool. So automation is the next important thing. So to making sure that as the data moves through the process, a daily process, weekly process, all of it is on demand, scheduled. It is automating the generation of the analytics in BI. And the final one is more for companies that have operations, multiple business units, or in this case it is multiple countries. An important charter for the project was to make sure that we standardize our processes. So the planning processes, if it is demand planning, if it is deployment planning, for example, then it's the same process that is used in all the countries. So having a standardized set of tools and BI reports is another feature which ensures that whether it's Colombia or Mexico or Argentina, 90% of the process is exactly the same, and the country specific thing comes only with a limited. So this was just to give you an overall picture of the breadth of the solution of the platform that is being used at FEMSA. I'm going to move to the next slide. Any initial questions so far?
No, we are okay.
All right. So just two more slides, like I said, and then I'll actually go into the solution. So one was, okay, functionally, what capabilities are being enabled from the platform? This is a quick view of, the technical part of the solution. So FIMSA is using our Azure cloud. We have the option to do Azure or AWS. There is source data is SAP, ECC, SAP BW. They use JDA as their planning tools. Everything from network optimization to transportation management to master planning to scheduling. So all of that data from JDA, and then a lot of other data that may not exist in a proper system. So the data that may exist in files, data may be coming in from some other databases. And now GPS and telematic data from the trucks that is being used for streaming analytics. So all of that data goes into the platform. So again, without going into too much technical details about, having the data lake for ingestion of data, for massaging of the data, for cleansing of the data, and then finally feeding into the data warehouse, from which, reporting can be consumed through, for management is using the mobile app. The planners, of course, are using the desktop, and they have web reports. They have I will talk about some analytical tools. They have, of course, the standard, Excel-based reports as well. So all of that is being, there is a single portal for all the 9 countries, for all the users, and they're able to consume the data differently.
Let me say just one comment in Spanish, I'm sorry.
Sure.
go ahead, Ashish. Thank you.
Okay, all right. And Paul, again, I just want to let you know I'm not able to hear the team. The voice is a little bit in the background. If it's possible to move the phone closer to the team.
Sure. In fact, we are very close.
Okay.
We will take for the next time the microphone in our hands.
Okay. No problem. All right. So with that, I'm going to, of course, I'm going to show you the development environment because, the production environment has production data for FEMSA. So I'm going to show development environment, which is not production data, but just so you get an idea of all the different type of tools that are enabled. With that, I'm going to switch to the development environment. So again, everything is browser. Like I said, even the Excel reports, all the automation, everything is done from the platform. And the consumption happens, like I said, the management team has the mobile app and they are looking at high level reports. The planners log into the UI and they are able to see the report. So everyone comes to a single platform. So this is our platform, the dev version. Here, like I said, the different features are you have the KPIs that you can define, which very quick view of how the data is, especially management that is across the countries. They want to look at the country benchmarks so they can see data across the countries. And for all the planners, we have tools deployed. So security, all the standard things you expect in any enterprise tool in terms of roles, what can people do on the tool, what data access do people have, all of that is controlled. So what I'm going to do is I will start with the KPIs and I will show you 5 different type of reports. So you get a flavor of the power of the platform. So we'll start with the management reports, or I should say the KPIs. So the KPIs, for example, let's look at order fulfillment. So this type of report is what we typically expect. This is a high level KPIs data that is aggregated at a higher level, maybe measured at a monthly level. What is more important for the management is how is my data trending year over year and month over month. And for the executive management, which is across all the countries, how is my data? Like, is Colombia's cost of transportation per unit case is higher than Mexico? Then what is the reason? And how do we solve it? How do we get into compliance? So there are 17 business KPIs that are, you can say, the top tier metrics that are enabled. And the standard, functionality wise, most BI tools would have it. I think the power is that all of this is in a single platform. It scales automatically because it's in the cloud. So performance is not an issue. Processing is not an issue. So the management, for example, every country, they look at specifically their data. They're able to management team. They're looking things across time, and they can see, okay, I only want to see 2018 data. So all the slicing and dicing you expect from any dashboard, you're able to do that. This report I'm showing you on the web, but all the management team, they actually don't even open the PC. They have the mobile app, which has all the swipe functionality, etc. So all these features of filtering certain data, slicing the data, going down to detail, all of that is available in the mobile app. So like that, like I was saying, there is 17 different KPIs that are enabled, different visualizations we have created. What we did to, many times people have different expectations. So as a methodology, we come up with a certain visualization scheme to say, okay, for showing a metric like this, you should, we want to have 2 charts, 3 charts, all of them should have the same color scheme, same slicers, so that it's easier for people to focus on the data rather than having to understand what the visualization is talking about. So, but functionality wise, it's the filtering that you expect with any KPI type report. The next one I'm going to show you is the planning reports. So starting with, and I will use Central America. And for example, starting with an example, let's say, sorry, I will go to Mexico. Here, show the optimal matrix. So in distribution, right, when you have a lot of plants, you have a lot of DCs, I think one very important metric or data that is important is, what is my route? What is the best route in order to optimize in this case, we are optimizing the transportation cost. If it is a manufacturing focus, then you would want to optimize the lowest cost of sourcing or production of data. So one of the key fundamental, let's say, building block of a lot of the reports is what we call as an optimal matrix. And what the optimal matrix does is it essentially says for every product and every DC from where you ship the demand, what is the best source of that data. So, if it has the longest distance would probably be the more expensive, but sometimes you have toll roads, sometimes you have highways, which might make the distance shorter. So based on a lot of that information, we come up with a definition of the optimal matrix. So as an example, if I were to just pick this product, and so what this is showing is, and let's take one destination, not a plant, let's say a distribution center. What it tells us, well, this is only one route, but some of them have multiple routes, or multiple options. So in this case, it is able to tell us that these are all the destinations, this is all the sources, and this is my rank, or my let's say the best route that I should pick, and that is based on multiple factors. So the transportation cost, but it could also be based on priority, production plant. If it's my own plant versus an outsourced plant, I want to use my production plant. So based on different schemes, the optimal matrix is developed. So again, in this report, my point I'm trying to highlight is, all the new things that you expect with visualization tools. Whenever you have locations, it is able to show charts, maps. So a lot of times it's easier to visualize the route over a map rather than with the data. But of course, planners always want to have access to data, and the tables and the maps are available in tandem so that they can download this data or they can consume it from the web itself. To look at an actual, let's say an inventory compliance, I'm going to go to, well, let's use again next. Yes, please.
Can you make me make a comment here, please?
Yes, please.
I will do it in Spanish, I'm sorry. Lo importante de esta información, ¿no? Para ya tenemos la información. Lo relevante de esta información es la suma de los fiscales, ¿no? Que se están, al mismo tiempo que se está desplegando, hay una capa atrás, que todavía no vemos, que está limpiando en tiempo real. Y la están limpiando no es fiscal, sino la están limpiando una mezcla entre algoritmos propios, la están mezclando humanos, que están tomando decisiones de no, esto no va acá, esto va acá, esto va acá. Entonces, la limpian. Luego de que funciona esto a través de esto, ellos están en la misma complejidad que siempre, pero hay una capa en tiempo real que también. No solamente la limpia para fines de presentarla, sino la limpia para fines de modificarla. Es importante, ¿no? Eso es lo realmente, ya lo que ya estoy viendo cuál es la pero es importante que todo el mundo esa información realmente. I'm sorry, you can move on. Thank you.
So the next is, it's a very common thing that a lot of, I think everybody who's in supply chain looks at this kind of report, which is just showing what is my inventory level as compared to my safety stock, my forecast, my actual inventory levels that is in SAP, for example. So this report, and I'm going to go to the resume tab. So what this report is, so this is the power of, again, the scale of data. So in Mexico, there are 60,000 SKUs, item locations, and obviously inventory changes every day. So this report actually contains historical data for every day. So you can go and look at exactly what was the inventory of a particular SKU at a particular date in time in the past. 3 months in the past, then it becomes twice a month, beginning of month, end of month inventory levels. And so again, people are able to, well, this is the percentage compliance, but this is, for example, showing my actual inventory versus my actual demand quantity versus my safety stock, and then how much stock do I have. So again, the planners are able to use this. They can focus on specifically their product. They can go back in time and see, okay, I want to look at a different month of data or the past data, and they're able to do that. Of course, like I said, every time we provide visualization, we also developed it in such a way that you also have access to the data, so that if somebody wants to download the data for doing some ad hoc analysis, they can do it. Okay, moving on. So we are talking about these planning reports. One important thing in supply chain is also if I have an issue, if my demand is not getting planned, I want to know why, right? And so one of the type of tools that we provide is the root cause analysis tool. So what this is doing is, I think here it's easier to show with the data. So I'm going to switch to the data tab, please. Datos. So what this is telling us is, if I have a stock out, the report goes and calculates what is the reason for my stock out. Is it because it's a discontinued item? Is it because I have some data setup that is missing? Is it because I did not source the data, or I did not have sourcing setup? Is it because I didn't have forecast? So now if I have demand, I do not have inventory to plan it. So it comes up with 10 root causes, and so I'm just going to filter it or sort it. So this is a report that people use every day, because when they see that I don't have a stock out, then they can come to this report, they can look at their specific SKU, and they can see that, okay, this is the reason I have a stock out, and that results in a action item, right? If I didn't have a forecast, you go to the demand planning team and say, why didn't you have forecast? If data is not set up, you go to the data management team and you say, okay, we need to set it up, etc. So this helps with resolving the issues in the supply chain faster, because the root cause has been automated, and planners, they don't have to go through different data sets to figure out why something is wrong. It has already calculated it for you. Okay, keep moving on. The next report that I will show you is now at a very operational level. So people who are working through the shift, through the night, for example, to make sure the trucks leave the factories and deploy the product every day. So for them, we have, and I'm going to use Central America just because it has data in the development environment. So one of the important, Excel, as you would know, is nobody can beat Excel. So we don't want to say, oh, the web reports are better than Excel. No, there are certain reports that are always better in Excel. But the problem with Excel usually is that data is offline. It's not coming from a data warehouse, and now people have some numbers, they can change it, etc. So what we did, or what we do in the platform, is we provide an Excel front end. However, the Excel is getting refreshed from the data of the data warehouse automatically. And so what I mean by that is, here, for example, you will see that there are 4 Excel tools. So I will open them and show it to you. But they are all automatically refreshed by the platform, and then sends an email notification to the user. The user simply downloads the file, and of course this data is now offline. And once I open the file, I'll show you. There is a lot of let's say what if simulations that we've built. It's still downloading the report here. So there's a lot of what if simulations we have built, and so the 3 main ones are: this is for the distribution team, this is for the production team, the provisiones, and this is for the master planning team. So I will just show you what the capabilities it has. Open this up. So the point is, again, to highlight is that we are not saying, oh, you should not use Excel, but the Excel is integrated into the platform. So people cannot change the layout. The layout is fixed, etc. So it's a very, very complex report. But the idea is that you get the standard Excel interface. However, the data here, how the for example, my days of cover in this case, what they're trying to do is make sure we do not have a stock out. So they see the plan information, they see the forecast, they are able to see what is my days of cover, piso de días. And then if they have a red, then they can go and do simulation. So they can go ahead and make some changes here and the days of cover will change. So the goal of the distribution engineer is to make sure that my criticos, which is my day zero stock out, have no reds. That is really the goal every shift. So they are able to do that in Excel, and I will now show you also how these changes are then communicated back into the planning system. So one is that you can do analysis, but the other power of our BI tool is that you can also make the adjustments, and the adjustments can be sent back to the execution system, fully automated. So again, I mean, it was not so much about the actual content of this, just to show you that there is reports like this available. This particular one, and I'm focusing on supply chain because Paul mentioned to me, the audience has a lot of focus on the logistics and the supply chain side. So if I'm going too much into supply chain, please tell me to stop. So this particular one is to show you the what if capabilities of the tool. And what I mean by what if is you have production or you have sourcing, and if you want to make a change to my, if let's say you are going to get new demand or more demand, what is the impact to my raw materials? Do I have enough raw material or capacity to build the product? So that kind of simulation capability exists in this particular, like it uses some DvSUM proprietary modeling feature, but it has provided within Excel front end. So to give you an example, the planner looks at what is their shortage. Again, this is a master planner. So I'm going to click on summary. And here what we are showing is, for this particular end product, what is my shortage? And then when you click on shortage, it is able to calculate, it calculates what is my production line, what is my different raw materials that I use, and what is my requirement, and do I have enough, for example, in this case, yes, I do have available supply, but maybe I don't have enough the lid or the tapa of the product, so therefore I cannot make the product. So now they can go ahead and change the production plan, or they can go talk to the raw material guys to say, okay, we need to bring more raw material in so we can resolve the shortage. So again, just Excel front end, but the power is really in the modeling of the data, so that the planners are able to actually simulate the changes and see what impact it has to the plan. All right. Moving on, another version of this, the planning tools. So I'm now focusing on the planner type tools. So I'm going to show you so we have developed, so everyone likes pivot tables, right? And specifically in supply chain, again, I will use that. Again, maintaining the inventory levels is one of the important, or one of the goals of the planning. So what this web-based, so this is a web-based web front end for a planning report. And what it allows you to do is you can see, I'm sure people in supply chain are very familiar with this layout. For a product, for a location, you can see what was my inventory, what is my supply coming in, what is my demand, what is my inventory levels. And now you can actually, for example, in this case, I can say, hey, my inventory levels projected on, let me switch it here. So it has localization features. You can see it in different languages. So here, well, projected on and Kubertera this is still not correct, the description, but I can say, okay, I want to increase my inventory levels. What if I can bring more supply? So they are making an adjustment to the plan. The days of cover instantly changes and say, no, actually this is too much. Maybe I will do 3,000. And okay, this looks okay, and I don't need to do anything more. They can save the change and they can publish it. So in this case, the changes that I have, I can publish them, and it actually takes the new purchase orders, or it will create new purchase orders, and new records, and it will send them to SAP. So the idea is that, as I was explaining, people can do the simulation, but it doesn't stop at just analyzing. They can actually take the adjustments and they can go and publish it back into the execution system. So in this case, for example, at FEMSA, they are taking the raw material changes, this new 3,000, and they are going to go and, well, in this case, I will change this to, say, publish to SAP, and I go and publish it. It generates it will generate a file, and it will FTP it to the to the SAP system so that it can be loaded into SAP. So in this case, the planner, essentially it's an integrated system. You analyze the planning data, the system data, you make adjustments to it, and then you publish it to the execution system. Okay. Next one is, so a lot of operational information, right? So let's look at some financial information. Again, like I said, this is development data, so I'm okay to share it here. So again, in distribution industry or distribution like, yes. Sorry, there's a question.
Yes, there is a question right here. Is there any report regarding planning, demand planning, forecasting?
In this, I mean, in FEMSA's case, demand planning or forecasting was not in scope of the supply chain transformation project. So, we have not, let's say, developed, or they have not built tools or reports related to forecasting. However, like forecast accuracy, there is a business KPI related to forecast accuracy that, that is used for management reporting, but detailed demand forecasting and that is not. I mean, forecast is used as an input, but a lot of the focus here is on the supply side. But like I said, our platform does not have any restriction about supply to demand planning or optimization. Yeah.
Understood. Is it possible that now we can change to DvSUM tool to see how the data quality is happening in the back?
Yes, yes. Let me just one for Sergio is, Sergio is here, but I just want to quickly, just 1 minute, show you the cost to serve. So this is now taking planning data. Well, it's not so much planning data, it's actually accounting data, which is the ledger information. And it is mapping it to P&L statement, right? And coming up with what is my cost to, what are my different components that go in the cost. So for example, again, let's take Mexico. So again, this is just to show you it's not just about supply chain planning. It is also about data that is, it's also data that you can bring from other tools. So in this case, what it does, it takes all the ledgers, it takes the P&L statement, the financial planning team has the mapping of the detailed accounts to the P&L groupings, rubrus and sub-rubrus, and from that they're able to see that what is my contribution of the total cost against my sales. So this way, this is like for the logistics services, this is one of the most important from a financial standpoint to see that my cost to serve is, I want to always keep in limit because it has a direct impact to my margin. So this is just wanted to show you. And again, all the 9 countries, their 2 years of cost to serve data is in the platform, and they're able to see it. They're able to see what is happening, why it's happening. Okay. With that, now we are going to switch to talking about, okay, great, BI, but one of the key factors, as I mentioned, is ensuring that the quality of the data is good. Otherwise, reports is garbage in, garbage out. So, and I'm going to just quickly show you just one slide to talk about, because I'm switching topics to data management. So another part of our platform, of our analytics platform, is the data quality engine. So we have a complete process of how to ensure data coming in to the data warehouse, or data sitting in your enterprise systems. How can you confirm the quality and fix the quality of the data? So DvSUM provides, and I'll just share this one slide before giving the demo, is it provides a data management platform as part of the overall our platform offering. And it is, it can prepare data, it can check for quality, it can fix data. You can do governance of data, which means, ensuring that people have ownership of the data. We can measure the quality of data over time. And then the actual process, a business process management to, have alerts so that people can actually receive alerts when data quality goes down, and they can fix the data. And then it can also write the data back to the source. So it's not like it's just a report. It can actually write the changes that you do on the data back to the source system. So I'm going to quickly show you just for a couple of minutes, the DvSUM data management platform. So again, it's so I've switched to, this is fine. So what this, like I said, the platform does is, I mean, what I'm landing into is a dashboard that I have created related to my data quality, but that's the end part. So what the system does is it can connect to any of your data sources. It can connect to your data warehouse. It can connect to SAP. It can connect to databases. It can connect to Hadoop or data lake. And what we do with that data is, it can profile the data. So, just very quickly, Paul, how many minutes do we have for this data quality? Like, do we have 5-7 minutes? Paul?
Yes, we have.
Okay, all right. So the first thing the system does is it analyzes your data. So when we run profiling, it identifies what are all your fields in the system. You do not have to define it. It automatically reads it from your system catalog. And it will say, for example, this is products data. I have 1100 records. I have 8, unit of measures. It shows you the distribution of the data. Hey, these are all my unit of measures. And a lot of times people identify issues like this. Hey, I expect these to be my unit of measures, but this is not correct. Dang. So, that's one record that is a problem in this case. So first thing is you can, play around with your data. You can see what your data looks like. You can also do consistency check. So more like, okay, for my finished goods, for my, let's say Garafon, the big things, what is my unit of measure? So you have some visual tools to easily filter and see how the data looks like. Once you see your data, then you can also write, rules. So I just clicked on data quality and very quickly I can say, okay, this field should not be blank. So I can apply a rule. The value of this field should always be a certain set of values. So I can define a field dictionary and I can say, okay, these are my valid values. So like this I have created, and I'm going to just remove these others so you can see just one change. And of course, you can also apply filters. So I can also, you can make it more complex. You can say, okay, I only want to do this check when my item group, which is like material type, is only finished goods, right? So you can easily, just with clicks, you can, and I'm just going to go and delete it so we can show you the results. So very easily with just clicks, I can create this. When I run this rule, well, okay, this was not an issue. So let's go ahead and pick something else. Let's say this one. Value range should be between, height should be between 0 and 50. Let's run it. So what the system is doing, actually, the DvSUM, it goes and connects to the source data. So we don't make a full copy of the data. It actually connects to the source system. It runs the appropriate program, and it has identified that, okay, out of the 1193, 400 records don't match the criteria. So this is just, the analysis part, but then you can actually look at what the records are and actually fix the data. So in this case, and I'm sorry, switch this off. I can see my actual records, either the height was missing in this case, or the height was more than 50. So it has identified those records. I can go and fix the data directly from DvSUM. So, maybe somebody mistyped this. It should have been 6.95. So you can make the changes. All the changes are audit trailed. So who's making the changes. Right now, these changes are in DvSUM. But like I said, DvSUM also has the ability to commit the changes back to the source. So in this case, it is actually taken the change record, which is from 69 to 6.95, and it has gone and updated back to the source system. If it's a database, it can do direct updates. If it is an application, it can call an API or a program. Like in SAP, it would be a BAPI program, and it can make those changes. So now I have fixed one record, and if I run the rule again, I should see my number of exceptions should have gone down by 1 here. So this is like a simple rule. There are 23 different type of rules we can create in DvSUM. This is just a quick demo. And of course, I as one person is not responsible for fixing the data. So you can also create a workflow. So in this case, I have created a workflow that when the data, configure, when the issue happens, send it to somebody else for cleansing, send it for approval, and then commit the changes. So now if you enable the workflow, when the rule is run, I am not the person responsible for fixing. It will send an email alert to the next person in line, which in this case is Ashish who will fix it, and then Juliana is the approver. So I make a change, it goes for approval, and then only after approval does it go back to the system. So very easily you can create a simple workflow in how to ensure that there is a process to fix the data. And finally, once you have created your set of rules, you can also schedule them. So you can say, okay, all these rules, I want to run them every day, for example, in the morning. And now the system will automatically wake up. It will run those rules. If there is an exception, it will send an alert to the appropriate user. So people don't have to be logged in. They will only get email alerts and then they log into the system. I will show just another type of rule just to show you, the different powers of like the modeling capabilities of the rules is enrichment of data. So if you have, in this case, we're talking about address data. So if you have customer data, like end customer data, you have two customers with, same addresses, or it's a wrong address, or it doesn't have colonia information. So DvSUM can also match addresses to external services. So for example, Google API, or Paul, I'm missing, what was the Mexico database called for addresses? It started with C, the word C. Something. Okay, that's fine. So it can check against another database, and in this case, what it is doing is it actually identifies this is my current address, and it matches it to what is the standard address in another database, or in Google. In this case, it is doing with Google Maps, and it identifies where the records are not matching, and it gives you the option to say, okay, do you want to use this? And I can choose no, I want to use this. Validate it, and now you can also write back the changes into the source. So I'm moving very fast, sorry about that, but my point to highlight is a similar interface as you can see, but the capabilities are different. The first one was a master data check. This one is more of a accuracy check of the information. So like that, you can create different type of rules. So at FEMSA, what they're doing is their data management. We help them set up their data management organization, which is a central organization, but they have one or two data stewards, people who are responsible for coordinating in each country. And they have about 100 rules across manufacturing distribution that they run every day. And they try to maintain 95 to 96% accuracy of all the data. So that helps ensure that when the BI reports are generated or when supply chain planning happens, it is of higher quality. Otherwise, a lot of time is spent in trying to fix the data. Well, there are some other capabilities about business glossary and workflow management, but again, we are coming at the end of the time, so I will take a pause and see if there are any questions. Paul or team, Sergio, Arturo, Amy, and any questions from your side?
No, it's quite perfect. I think that Sergio is telling me that he has seen enough. No, thank you so much for the presentation, Ashish. I mean, of course, we were in mute, no, and we were talking and making comments around what you said, and I think that for them it's quite clear what the objective of the meeting. So I don't know if Sandra, Arturo, Sergio, do you have any questions? Thank you, Ashish.
Okay, thank you everyone for your time. Have a good day.
You too.